Less than a couple of days after the tragic, most recent school shooting in Florida, the FBI finds itself being targeted after it revealed today that it failed to follow up on calls warning the agency of the Parkland shooter. The agency said proper protocols were not followed in investigating him, who authorities say has confessed now to stalking the high school's hallways, gunning down students and teachers. And we have a statement from the FBI director going into greater detail saying, "I am committed to getting to the bottom of what happened in this particular matter, as well as reviewing our processes for responding to information that we receive from the public. It's up to all Americans to be vigilant, and when members of the public contact us with concerns, we must act properly and quickly." And so let's talk about what actually happened. Law enforcement officials said calls to the tip line are handled at the FBI's call center in West Virginia. They get about 2,100 per day, and a caller did call in about this particular individual, saying that Cruz had recently purchased firearms and had threatened a family member. They added that the caller knew Cruz's address and said he had been posting disturbing messages on social media accounts and that he had a desire to kill, which is a whole lot of information. When you combine it together, that's really scary. And now, under established protocols, the information provided by the caller should have been assessed as a potential threat to life. The information then should have been forwarded to the FBI Miami field office, where appropriate investigative steps would have been taken, but they did not do that. And there will be consequences, although we can hold off for a second if you want to respond to this initial information.
So look, there's going to be a political angle here in a second, but in terms of what the FBI did wrong, I'm going to have a minority opinion here. So it's very easy to say, oh my God, why didn't they act? Why didn't they do something? But it was a YouTube comment. Look down below if you're watching on YouTube. Tell me if you don't find a death threat in there, or someone saying they're going to kick someone's ass or kill them or come for them, etc. And if you don't find it on this video, which will be nearly miraculous, go find any other video that we do, anyone does. If we reported every person who sounded dangerous, equal way, same exact way. I'm going to be a shooter. I'm going to come get you guys with guns, yada yada. If we reported each one to the FBI would do nothing else but track the people that are in our YouTube comment section. So it's a little Monday morning quarterback here. I sometimes, when the threats are incredibly specific and repeated, I feel like the FBI still feels overwhelmed and does not give a proper response. That's my take on it. But this was one guy in a YouTube comment section. If the FBI chased every one of those down, like I said, I don't think they'd do anything but that. So
I agree with you. And this, to me, maybe it's just me, but this reads as one of these. The Republicans are getting ready to set up a straw man so they could avoid the real conversation. And I think it's disheartening, and I think it's, excuse my language, but this is the internet, it's bullshit. Because I grew up literally, Cenk, about 20 miles from the school. I've debated at this school, and as I watched on Wednesday night, as they showed the aerial views, I could remember myself being a sophomore in high school, sitting in that courtyard. And to watch these Republicans bob and weave, and try to find all these different reasons as to what went wrong here, when the real thing that went wrong in this case, and everybody knows it, you talk to people in Parkland, you see the interviews from these students, you see the interviews from these parents. Here's what went wrong. It's pretty simple, America. He was 18 years old. He couldn't buy a beer, he couldn't buy a pint of vodka, he couldn't buy whiskey, but he was able to buy a military grade weapon, an AR-15 and multiple magazines. And he was able to camouflage himself as a student, walk into that school, pull the fire alarm, and then kill 17 innocent people. The problem is not the FBI. The problem is not, oh, we didn't get it soon enough, the tips were bad. The problem is this man was armed with a military grade weapon, and Republicans will continue to conjure up different Bible scriptures, and they will talk about thoughts and prayers, but thoughts and prayers does not bring back a 14-year-old little girl who had the world ahead of her and the world in front of her to accomplish and to conquer. And I think that is what's so upsetting, and that's why these parents, if you look at these interviews, these parents are like, this is ridiculous. And I gotta say this, I think it's really time that every American wake up. And there was a video done where now this went to, when they started talking to the members of Congress, what do you have to say? What are you gonna do? And they're like, oh, well, I don't wanna talk, because the NRA has a stranglehold on our elected leaders leaders in the state houses and in Congress, and everybody is so afraid of Wayne LaPierre and that building in Fairfax County that they're unwilling to protect our children. And so now they're gonna blame this on Christopher Wray and the FBI, and they're gonna find some way to connect it back to Russia and connect it back to Comey so Trump could go back to his old narrative. And once again, we're missing the argument. The argument is this: we are what, 20 some odd, 30 some, 60 some odd days into the new year, and we've had 18 school shootings. Our kids are not safe. Schools should be safe and welcoming places for children, and this is not true. Why it's not true? Because too many people have guns and it's too easy to get. You can get an AR-15 in Florida in about 38 minutes.
Yeah.
Period.
So I'm gonna go to graphic 30 here in a second, but now let's talk about the political part of this, because then Rick Scott, the governor of Florida, and Marco Rubio both come out and they say they're shocked and chagrined at the FBI.
If you want, we have.
Yeah, so here, I'll read you one of Rick Scott's quotes. The FBI's failure to take action against the killer is unacceptable. 17 innocent people are dead, and acknowledging a mistake isn't going to cut it. We constantly promote see something, say something, and a courageous person did just that to the FBI, and the FBI failed to act. See something, say something is an incredibly important tool, and people must have confidence in the follow through from their law enforcement. The FBI director needs to resign.
Yeah.
So now let me explain the trifecta there for Republicans. And it might be even more than that. So number one, great, I get to deflect from guns. It's not guns, it's if you had just found that one YouTube comment and done something about it, this all would have been taken care of. Number two, I wanted the FBI director fired because he's allowing an investigation of Donald Trump. Perfect, yes. Now, what a gift to me. I get to avoid talking about the real problem, and I get to get rid of what someone I perceive to be a political enemy so I could help the president obstruct justice. And then number three is the constant reference to see something, say something. Why? Look for people who are different than you, right? And that is mainly used, it is incredibly ineffective. So they have that program in the tri-state area up in New York, New Jersey, et cetera. The overwhelming majority of the calls are totally useless. It wastes a tremendous amount of police time to chase after that guy looked Arab, that guy looked dark, that guy looked suspicious, that student had a backpack. It's a total waste of time, right? But it allows the Republicans to deflect and get you to start questioning one another. Oh, and it allows for demagoguing. Now, by the way, the guy, it appears, is a white nationalist. And he was wearing a MAGA hat in one of the pictures and bragged about being a right winger. So every time I see someone in a MAGA hat, should I say something? Every time I see a right winger, should I report it to the FBI? A right winger with a gun. Okay, let's be more specific, right?
That's all.
A right with a, okay, great. Can I report 120 million people? Right? How useless is see something, say something? So they hit a trifecta with it. And the mistake that Christopher Wray did in this case, and Christopher Wray is a Republican.
Yeah, they're all Republicans.
For God's sake, and I'm sure that if Christopher Wray and I discuss policy, we would disagree on what, 80-90% of things, right? So I'm not a fan of Christopher Wray. I wouldn't have appointed Christopher Wray. But Christopher Wray here did what an FBI director should do, took accountability. And I think he took too much accountability, but that's okay, good. I like that they represent us. He's our FBI director. I'm glad that he took accountability. But in politics, major mistake. The Trump team and the Republicans never take accountability, and they go, well, we denied it. We strongly denied it.
Yeah.
And the other side, and decent, honest people take accountability, and they go, yeah, you see, you admitted it. That's it. We got to fire you. Yeah. And that's what's happening here.
Yeah, when we saw that the FBI had not followed the protocol this morning at the production meeting, we were like, I felt like, okay, I'm put in a tough position because obviously I want to talk about this because they theoretically could have stopped the guy. Now I think when you're getting literally thousands of tips every single day, it is very difficult. I mean, sometimes there's other evidence like the fact that he'd recently purchased a firearm, something like that can make it a little bit easier, but it's still tough. But I also knew that this would be used for the two-pronged distraction tactics that we've been talking about. They want you to be focused solely on protecting the last possible shield against a mass shooting. Let's not actually talk about any of the root causes of the structure that makes it possible. Let's talk about, did they get their medication on that particular day? Did someone pursue a phone call? Let's not talk about the fact that they can literally reach out and grab a firearm because they're all around us. And so it's distraction. And then, of course, we were talking about the meeting. They're going to use this to try to discredit the FBI. I didn't know how specific and targeted it would be, that they would literally call on him to step down that day, but we knew it was coming and they wasted no time.
So just one more thing that I have to Richard's earlier point, it's the guns, it's the AR-15s, etc. When you look at a scale of mass shootings in the world compared to the number of guns, we stand alone. So we're in the upper right corner all by ourselves. We have 270 million guns in the country, and we have 90 mass shooters from 1966 to 2012. Now that is a very, very conservative count. The reality is, it is now, especially since 2012, way higher. Okay. Now, if you look at the other countries, they have a low amount of guns and they have a low amount of mass shooters, and it's not close. They're all huddled in the lower left corner. We're in the upper right corner. It's the guns, stupid.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think what makes this even more sad is that this is all part of this sort of. They love to play. I think that my word of the day is straw man, because you would hear them when they go on about MS-13 and all these illegals are killing everybody. Oh, Kate Steinle. And then you look at it, majority of the mass shootings in this country are white supremacists, right? White supremacists, white nationalists, Trump supporters who go in and create absolute mass havoc. And that's exactly what they did to Parkland. And it's like, for me, it just hit way too close to home. Because you never, when it happened in Sandy Hook, and I'm like, this is awful, this is really sad, but you never think it's gonna happen in your community.
Yeah.
And to know that this happened, my mom called me. She was like, I'm so happy that neither you or your brother are in public school anymore. And I could vision my mother being one of those parents. And then you ask yourself the question, what is it going to take for these members of Congress and for these elected leaders to say, hold on, we've got to get these guns out of these people's hands. I mean, and it's not, I'm one of those people, my brother's a gun owner and my father's a gun owner. I don't have a problem with guns. I just have a problem with military grade weapons in the United States of America when we're not at war.
What you just watched was one of the videos that we do today, but we actually do a whole 2-hour show every single day. It's a podcast. You can watch it in video or listen to it as audio. You can download it, you can stream it, and you get it completely ad-free if you could become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.